This video will present 4 college football picks for the upcoming weekend. I'm Professor MJ, a former university statistics professor from Quebec, Canada. Let's get started with my first pick. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you appreciate the content and if you wish to get more valuable sports betting information. Thank you! If you've been following the channel, you know we have been heavy on unders so far this year, and they've been hitting across the board. The bookies are catching back up for sure. However, there are still a lot of opportunities to get some numbers that still look too high for what we are projecting. It's no doubt the headset communicators and running clock that are causing games to be faster. But a new variable has arisen and is definitely interesting for us to consider. That variable is how good is the offensive leader? So how much is the extra time actually benefiting the quarterback versus how the extra time is letting the defense disguise until under 15 seconds, which causes the QB trouble when he has to think on his own. Is it worth waiting longer and allowing the quarterback to have to make decisions, or should they get up and go? Teams are now having to decide, do we speed up because this defense is smart, or do we slow down because we know we're better and we can adjust? The matchup I like first fits squarely into that category. Week 1 we looked at Georgia and an under. Week 2, Kentucky and an under. So, week 3, let's put them together. It's a low number, but I still like it. I am grabbing under 45.5 points between Georgia and Kentucky. This fits into the theory to consider the quarterback and pace of play. Georgia quarterback Carson Beck is clearly one of the best in the nation. He has demonstrated his ability to see the field, read the field, and take what the defense is giving him. Georgia so far has not been in a hurry while they play, ranking 97th in the nation in plays per game. Why would they be in a hurry? They are clearly the better team. Vegas has them as 24-point favorites. Beck will want to manage the field, push the Kentucky defense around. Boy, the horrible South Carolina offense sure did last week. Because of that, I think Kentucky coach Mark Stoops will have his squad a little more motivated to play better in front of their home crowd. They will slow Georgia down a little, but not enough. On the other side of the ball, the Kentucky offense, led by former Bulldog Brock Vandagriff, is, well, the nice way to say it, they will be attending the game. They also play at a snail's pace. They rank 122nd in pace of play. So, according to the theory, they may attempt to speed up against a better defense. It might be too tall of a task. Last week, Kentucky was 3 of 16 on conversions, so the problem here is you need to make conversions in order to keep their defense on the field. Otherwise, all your speed up did was speed up your exit. Georgia's defense is superb, even though they did show some early signs of weakness in the opening Clemson matchup. I think they've closed those holes up and will squeeze the life out of the Wildcats. The Kentucky team total was at 10.5, and I liked it there. I'm a little less interested in it at 9.5, but it's still worth consideration. I think it's a tall task for the Wildcats to get to 10 points on offense. The first half under is at 24 points. I like that too. I could see a 21-0 or 21-3 score at halftime. However, I want to focus on the full game at 45.5. Besides last year's 51-13 blowout, the prior 4 games between these two have been below the number. I can see this script playing out with the Bulldogs getting up a few scores. Then they put the clamps on and just run the clock. Get out of Lexington with a win and hopefully no major risk or injuries. Then they can hit the books to prepare for the epic September 28 battle against Alabama. I like Georgia to win something like 34-6 and thus the under 45.5 points. Now the other side of the big September 28 battle, let's look at Alabama. This week they head to Wisconsin. And you guessed it, another under. Under this, under that. Sorry guys, I know it's not sexy, but this is what the analysis is saying. Some games just scream under. There are a lot of different factors that go into an under. This next game has two of them. An offense that is still trying to define itself versus a defense that is disciplined but not very talented, as well as the other side, a defense with a lot of NFL talent versus an offense you just cannot rely on. So let's start there. An offense you just cannot rely on. Simply put, to describe the Wisconsin offense, you just cannot trust it. Since Phil Longo joined the Badgers staff last year, they just haven't found their footing offensively. While they run a lot of plays, their success rate is well below 50%. The numbers in the two games against inferior programs suggest they are not playing that great. This offense is not explosive. They lost their only playmaker from last year, Braylon Allen, to the NFL. And no one has really shined in the running back room for a school that historically produces running backs. Against this lower tier competition, they've barely averaged 4 yards a rush. While that will get you first downs, it also does what we're looking for here: slow the pace and speed up the clock. Quarterback Tyler Van Dyke has yet to impress. With only one touchdown pass so far, his success has really been limited to a dink and dunk offense. Of the 150 snaps, the offense has managed only 3 plays over 25 yards. Literally the definition of not explosive. Alabama's defense has plenty of talent, despite the mass exodus after Nick Saban retired. Plenty of skilled players remain. They shut out Western Kentucky in Week 1 and struggled with South Florida for a few drives before shutting it down. I suspect they will make a mistake or two on Saturday, but for the most part put Wisconsin in its place before the half rolls around. The lines have been moving on this game for sure. I liked Alabama minus 7.5 in the first half, now it's minus 9.5. I like the full game under at 53.5, where I got it a few days ago, but since then it has moved down below the two keys of 52 and 51. I like it less down at 49 where it is, but I don't hate it. So because of what we say about the Badgers offense, I am going to target the Wisconsin team total under 17. I even like the alternate line down to under 13.5. This one might get ugly, maybe even on shutout alert. I see Alabama 37-3. It's time to take a trip out west and we look at the Indiana Hoosiers taking on the UCLA Bruins at the historic Rose Bowl in Pasadena. We talked about Indiana in Week 1, about how they get out of the box quickly. I like it again this week. This time, I'm going to attack the full game and take Indiana minus 3 against UCLA Saturday night. While the Rose Bowl is a beautiful setting, it's not much for regular season football, especially for a program that plays second fiddle to USC. There's just too much to do in LA, so who wants to go to a boring Big Ten game when it's beach weather? LA fans do not. This probably will be a pro-Indiana crowd and I think they're in for a treat. We've already talked about Curt Cignetti being familiar with his personnel that he brought with him from James Madison. Same thing applies here. Although Indiana hasn't been challenged by FIU nor Western Illinois, it's really hard to ignore them outscoring their opponents 108-10. What? The offense has been humming, and now it faces its first real test against a mediocre at best UCLA team. The Hoosiers are brimming with confidence behind their experienced coach. while UCLA's coach, Deshaun Foster, is in his first head coaching job ever. In their one game against Hawaii, UCLA barely escaped 16-13. There were several missteps and procedure problems that they better have gotten straightened out in their bye week. While Indiana's offense is rolling, the UCLA defense is a question mark still. While they held the Rainbows in check in week 1, their performance has them ranked last in the nation in stuff rate, the consistency at which a defense tackles the opposing player at or behind the line of scrimmage. So the Hoosiers are averaging 6.4 yards per rush, will be going up against arguably the worst defensive line in the country. I don't think Indiana will even need a passing attack, even though I'm going to again put a little something on anytime score by wide receiver Elijah Surratt. I got it at plus 280 odds. I think a prop on running back Justice Ellison is worth a look as well. There's really nothing impressive about the UCLA offense. I don't expect them to get very far here either. With the week off, you have to assume they will have prepared and will be ready to go. I just think the better team will prevail here. And at the end, possibly even run away with it. I see this game playing out to a 28-13 victory for Indiana, and thus I am on Indiana -3 this Saturday. Colorado really took it on the chin last week, getting manhandled by Nebraska. For most of the game, Nebraska's lines dominated Colorado. This may have set back the plans of coach Deion Sanders and his son Shedeur, who have their sights on him making it to the NFL next year. Not only did they get their butts kicked, Shedeur also left the field before the game was over and then threw his teammates under the bus during the press conference. I think this week sets up for the one thing Colorado is good at: drama. It's possible the Colorado offensive line accidentally lets Shedeur take a few extra hits, replacement style. Although the 6 sacks he took last week were pretty brutal, they can be much worse. It's also possible his behavior inspires the line to be better. This week, the Buffaloes head to Fort Collins to take on cross-state rival Colorado State Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. The Rams are nothing special so far this year, allowing 273 passing yards a game, good for 117 best in the nation. With Colorado's pass-heavy offense, 62% pass, 38% run, this matchup favors the Buffs. If, and it's a big if, Coach Prime can get his son and teammates to focus on the game. Last year's game was a crazy 43-35 Colorado victory in double overtime. So I would expect some fireworks in this one for sure. Colorado State's head coach, Jay Norvell, will have his squad fired up to avenge the loss last year. However, I'm gonna bank on the fact that Colorado will get their act together against what will easily be the worst defense they will have seen so far. Show some pride and put together some solid touchdown drives early against the hostile crowd. While I like the first half -4 for Colorado, I'm gonna look at the full game number. Currently, the line sits at Colorado around -7. I saw a -6.5 out there for -124. I have Colorado covering the 6.5 points 60% of the time, pricing this as high as -150. So with a 26-cent edge like this, I will pay the -124 odds for the hook. I see Colorado winning 35-24, so I am on Colorado -6.5 points. Smash the subscribe button because my #1 goal is to grow your sports betting bankroll. My name is Professor MJ, it's been a pleasure to serve you, and I invite you to watch my video unveiling 5 NFL picks for week 2. Cheers, my friend!